At our parents' 20th wedding anniversary, my mother made a light-hearted comment about my sister having feelings for my spouse. So he revealed her infidelity with the next-door resident right in front of the whole group. Family gatherings are meant to strengthen bonds. But when my parents asked my husband and me to join their 20th marriage celebration meal, I didn't experience joy, I experienced anxiety. Not due to a lack of affection for them, but because of my sibling. Anyone would show up for their parents' milestone event since it's a family occasion. Yet, I have mixed emotions about attending. The primary cause of my hesitation is linked to my sister. You see, my younger sibling and I have never shared a strong connection. Despite being just 2 years apart, we lack a profound relationship. Much of this stems from her attitude toward me. She holds a lot of resentment, and this has persisted since our childhood. When we were young, our parents were quite rigorous, especially our mom. She had served in the armed forces for many years, and that discipline showed in her parenting style. She always encouraged us to rival each other. It didn't matter if it was racing to board the school bus early or trying to surpass one another in chores. Everything felt like a contest between us. It wasn't merely about doing your utmost, it was about beating your sibling. Initially, I believed the rivalry between my sister and me wasn't too harmful. It might have even been beneficial. We were just children at the start, and some competition was normal. But as time passed, the dynamics started to alter. My sister started falling behind, especially in academics. I was consistently strong in my studies. I earned high scores, performed well on exams, and brought home progress reports that pleased my parents. Sadly, this only worsened things for Emily. Since I was succeeding, my mom often held me up as a standard for her. Emily endured severe punishments when she didn't measure up. There were evenings when she was denied supper, and other instances where she had to remain standing in a corner for extended periods until her legs buckled. I could see how much it hurt her, not just bodily but mentally too. Mom kept pointing to me as the ideal. "Look at your sibling," she would say. "Why can't you emulate her?" She even assigned me to coach Emily, thinking that my assistance with lessons would boost her performance. I didn't object to helping, I desired to, but it was tough to support her under such intense stress from our mom. Emily didn't like learning, it wasn't her interest. She was more of an energetic and playful kid who loved being outdoors, playing actively, and using her creativity. Remaining seated with a textbook frustrated her, regardless of the efforts. Over the years, the ongoing contrasts and demands started to wear her down. She began to hold grudges against me, and honestly, I understand why. She felt perpetually lagging and inadequate, no matter her attempts. But I didn't enjoy being the focus of my mom's praise either. I loathed it as well. Not only did I pity Emily, but I also faced pressure from my mom sometimes, like when I underperformed on an assessment or didn't fulfill her standards. I confronted my mom about what I observed with Emily, but it only led to me being scolded. Then, right before I left for university, an event occurred that stunned our whole household. Emily took a drastic step. She consumed a full container of sleep aids. Luckily, our parents found her promptly and rushed her to medical care. The physicians managed to rescue her, but that incident altered everything. It was like a veil had been lifted from my parents, especially my mom. They realized for the first time how much pain Emily had been bottling up, how profoundly she had endured over time. It required something so dire, something that could have ended tragically, for them to see the harm that had accumulated within her for years. Following the overdose, the home environment shifted dramatically. My parents started joining counseling with Emily to grasp the issues better. Ever since, they've treated her delicately, as if one wrong word or slight push could shatter her. Through the years, I've expressed regret to my sister multiple times. I've conveyed how remorseful I am for not being more aware and for not defending her in our youth. I tried to repair our bond, but even today, after so long, I sense my parents still view her as immature. They're overcorrecting for the harm they inflicted, and I don't think that's helpful. After secondary school, when my mom pushed Emily toward higher education, my sister warned of self-harm again, saying she couldn't handle living independently and didn't require advanced schooling, so she never secured a stable, lucrative position due to lacking qualifications or even solid grades. Even when she lands employment, she struggles to keep it. She eventually gets dismissed, whether from excessive absences or conflicts with colleagues. It's like a repeating cycle. My sister remains at home, doesn't contribute rent, and depends on our parents for all needs. Meals, expenses, everyday items, everything. To clarify, my sister doesn't currently have any diagnosed psychological conditions, aside from the depression she went through back then. She goes to counseling sporadically and is managing fine now. She is capable. She isn't suffering as intensely as before. She actually socializes with a circle of pals. They often go out partying. It's not the healthiest group, but at least she's not isolated. The issue is that she funds it all with our parents' resources. That, I think, is the most irritating part for me. My parents never encourage, test, or require her to take accountability. They're afraid, and I comprehend it. They're scared of pressuring her excessively and risking another extreme action. She knows this well. She grasps exactly how to exploit that fear. At times, it seems she manipulates it. So when they requested me to chip in funds for their daily costs, I had to refuse. I know they're retired and lack their former earnings. And with Emily offering nothing, it's clear their money won't stretch far. But I can't continue providing monthly support when my sister behaves as if nothing matters. Moreover, there have been additional events, which I'll cover soon, that have made it unfeasible for me to assist financially. My spouse now knows my full family background. He can't tolerate my sister. And it's not solely because she's my parents' unproductive child. She's also made him feel uneasy numerous times. You see, Emily is always teasing my husband. She's been excessively affectionate toward him from the day they met. She tries to get near him and even offers inappropriate propositions. She excuses her behavior by saying it's playful or friendly. When I confront her, she minimizes it, chuckles, and pretends it's humorous. What worsens it is how my parents handle these scenarios, including the one I mentioned before. They don't see it for what it is. Instead of correcting Emily or backing me, they just brush it off. They say it's merely a harmless infatuation, like some silly youthful phase. They sometimes drop hints that seem to support her. For instance, when my husband first encountered my parents, we all gathered and conversed. My mom abruptly told my husband, who was my boyfriend then, something like, "You're quite amusing. You know, you'd really be a better pair with my other daughter, Emily. You share similar senses of humor." My dad then added his opinion, concurring. He told my husband, "Yes, Emily is truly witty. Someone like her might be more enjoyable for you." Since my husband and I were surprised by their remarks initially, we thought they were jesting and attempted to dismiss it with laughter. But over time, my parents have frequently suggested that my husband would suit my sister better. It's like a persistent theme they've clung to. They've said things like, "He's far more compatible with Emily," or noted how my husband and Emily possess such alike traits, as if implying he picked the incorrect sibling. Even on our marriage day, just prior to the event, my mom pulled my husband aside and questioned him. "Are you certain you want to wed Marisol?" It was as though she was offering my husband a final opportunity to withdraw, wishing he'd reconsider and depart. Can you picture how hurtful it was to learn that on our special day? I had a major dispute with my parents over it and distanced myself from them temporarily. However, they later expressed regret and vowed never to address my husband that way again. But for my sister's next birthday, they made extra efforts to position my spouse beside her for pictures or videos. My husband simply declined, and we departed before the dessert was served. We realized our parents weren't going to alter and that this pattern would persist. After that, my mom tried to justify it by stating, "My sister has never had a partner, so she just has feelings for my husband since he's attractive and she enjoys his company. That perhaps spending more time around him will motivate her to improve and find someone similar for herself." My dad isn't helping either. He said things like, "What's wrong with posing next to her for a photo if it pleases your sister?" We ceased attending family events involving my sister. No celebrations, no gatherings, nothing. We've completely withdrawn. My husband and I both stopped visiting our parents. However, my mom insists we come this time because she's invited all my kin and distant relatives and doesn't want me absent as people might inquire. But I already foresee what will occur since my sister will attend, and neither of us, especially my husband, desires to participate. While that concerns me, I wouldn't have wed him if I thought he'd abandon me for that failure. It's just a lack of respect toward me. However, my husband is uncomfortable, so we're respecting his choice. I wouldn't object to meeting extended family I haven't seen in ages. But none of this justifies it. I'm not sharing to seek advice on attending, but to vent about my family and relieve this burden, as the invite has prompted me to revisit my early life memories. First, I'd like to express gratitude to all who commented on my entry. With numerous posts available, I figured mine would go unnoticed. My husband brought up something after pondering my parents' request, which made me think. He suggests that if we skip it, my parents will need to fabricate a reason for my absence at their milestone, and it won't reflect well. He believes we should attend. And if my sister misbehaves, it could be a perfect chance to confront them publicly in front of all. They couldn't spin a different story to kin or acquaintances afterward. I'm not saying my spouse's idea is poor, but I'm weighing it as it might backfire badly. So we decided to go to my parents' marriage anniversary, and I feel the outcome is quite positive. During the event, my parents seemed genuinely happy to see me. My mom embraced me and said she hadn't anticipated my presence and was glad I came. I just acknowledged with a nod and a grin. Things proceeded smoothly until the meal. We were all seated at the table, updating each other and engaging in casual talk. Then one of my aunts mentioned offhand that all my cousins were wedded or paired, except for my sister Emily. She laughed a bit and inquired, somewhat teasingly, why she remained single and if she was seeing anyone she planned to wed soon. My sister just gave an uneasy smile and turned red, as if concealing something. And then one of the cousins jokingly urged, "Come on, Emily, tell us, do you have a secret someone?" That's when my mom, without hesitation, declared boldly, "Oh, I'm not sure if she has a beau, but she has strong feelings for her sibling's spouse." She gestured at my husband and giggled like a young girl infatuated with her instructor. My dad joined the amusement and chuckled harder. I stared daggers at my mom from my spot, but she missed it. She was occupied laughing and chatting with my aunt, sharing about my sister's enduring attraction to my husband. Then, as if that wasn't sufficient, my aunt addressed my husband loudly and casually. "Do you have any siblings or relatives Emily could pursue?" Maybe some laughed at this. My sister just remained there, flushing and smiling faintly. She didn't try to halt my parents. She didn't shift the topic. She just stood, soaking up the spotlight as if it were praise. I felt anger building, but I composed myself since we'd prepared for this. I intended to say something audible to all. I wasn't going to delay for a hard-of-hearing relative the following day questioning why I'd shamed my parents. I faced my mom and shouted, "How dare you discuss my husband this way?" The whole group quieted and paid attention. I told them, "You assured me, both of you, that you wouldn't breach this boundary again. You promised to honor our limits and cease creating uncomfortable moments. But here it is once more, you're chuckling about my sister fancying my husband. You think it's amusing because you're as foolish as she is." Then I spoke to the others at the table, my relatives, and posed. Let me pose a query. How many of you believe it's acceptable for someone to publicly admit attraction to their own kin's partner, and for the entire group to giggle like it's a funny skit? Do you truly see this as typical? Abruptly, nobody responded. Then I directed at my sister. I unleashed it. "You've behaved inappropriately toward my husband for ages. You tease him whenever we're around. You message him late evenings, though he's ignored and requested you to cease. You try to get too close, and you contact him when he's clearly distressed, and you pretend it's all fun." My sister's expression fell right away. I scanned the table and asked, "And you all find this entertaining? Do you honestly think it's fine for someone to behave this way toward their sibling's spouse?" I faced my parents and questioned, "And you as well. How often have you remarked on how my husband and Emily would form a perfect pair? You've done this for years. You even uttered such things on our marriage day. Do you understand how twisted that is? How profoundly insulting it is, not only to me, but to my husband?" Everyone stayed completely quiet. I was also annoyed with my aunt for going along with my mom's quip. I looked her directly in the eyes and asked, "Would you ever make these sorts of statements about your own child's partner? Would you inform your son-in-law he'd suit another family member better? Would you permit your child to act this way toward another's spouse?" She appeared shocked before gradually shaking her head no. "Precisely. That's what I figured. So why is it acceptable when my parents do it to me?" My dad seemed ready to erupt, his face red, his hand clenched on the table, but I warned him, "Don't you dare speak. Don't attempt it. I think Mom and your siblings share great vibes. Perhaps they should pair up too, just an idea." Always truthful, right? Of course he was enraged after that. My mom, meanwhile, started to fret. She tried to downplay the matter with a shaky tone, saying, "I didn't intend harm. Come on, it's no issue, it's just a simple crush. We've always teased like that about your husband and Emily. I'm apologetic, but it is humorous, and I wasn't aiming to upset anyone." That's when my spouse, who had rehearsed his response, turned to my mom. "Oh, I see. Since it's all jokes to you, I suppose betraying your husband years back was just entertainment too, huh? I think it's time we all chuckle. Come on, begin laughing," while gesturing for them to do so. My mom stiffened, eyes wide. My husband continued. I mean, I suppose you had a harmless infatuation with the neighbor, right? And when you chose to be intimate with him, it meant nothing. It was purely for amusement, wasn't it? What my spouse stated was absolutely true. This was a dirty secret they'd concealed for years, kept from all. My mom once was unfaithful to my dad with a neighbor, and when he learned, she pleaded for him to stay. He remained for me and my sister. He seemed to have pardoned her or at least progressed. But my husband knows the facts because I shared them. He's guarded it for years. But prior to the dinner, he inquired if it was fine to use this for protection. And I replied, feel free to use whatever you need. My mom snapped out of her shock and started berating my husband. She wasn't playful anymore. She screamed at him, claiming he had no authority to throw that at her and had overstepped. My dad defended my mom too, calling my spouse rude and despicable, but I was ready to back my husband. And I informed them, you overstepped when you made my husband the target of your odd humor. When you kept shielding Emily like she's an innocent kid when she's made my husband uneasy for years. It's rather disturbing that a mature woman like Emily fancies her sister's husband. She's not a child. She's a somewhat capable grown-up who needs to become fully capable with a reality check. Maybe a firm nudge. My mom started weeping publicly to gain pity, as if she were the injured party now, because here was the unkind daughter me, raising her voice and stating truths. But folks kept pondering her words, along with the revelation that my mom had been unfaithful to my dad. At last, Emily spoke up, accusing me of ruining the event. You always portray yourself as the injured one, I told her. This wouldn't be occurring if you hadn't initiated it. You sat there like a passive observer, waiting for reward, while Mom broadcast your feelings for my husband like it was comedy. You didn't intervene. You turned red like a teen eyeing the star athlete in school. All that lacked was you fiddling with your locks. Are you upset with me? Well, absolutely, because your frustration means zilch to me, she retorted. Oh, come on. You always act victimized. Nobody uttered anything so terrible. While my parents and Emily kept arguing and pointing fingers, my husband and I chose to exit. The disputes didn't seem to end soon, and we'd accomplished our goal. What was the reason to linger? My parents and sister were set on their narrative, even though others had heard it all. I just settled them and said, it's finished. Don't reach out unless you mature and own up. If not, don't notify us when one of you passes. That was the end. Relatives started sending mostly encouraging messages. Even my aunt regretted not speaking when my mom referenced my husband. Ultimately, it turned out better than expected, so I must admit my spouse was right. It's good we addressed it head-on. Everything has been awkwardly quiet. I don't know, I thought I'd get more outreach from my folks, only a few voicemails, but from what I gather, they're so embarrassed they avoid anything that might worsen it. I heard their messages, and they're rather composed versus how we parted. I understand. They're worried we might lash out again and expose more, but I think we've covered it all. We held nothing in. Sure, we could have worded it better, but in the heat, that's how it emerged. For instance, my husband planned to say my sister was unworthy. He'd never think of dating her, but amid the tension, he overlooked and recalled the key point. Discussing my mom's unfaithfulness. Reflecting, I feel the night was beneficial. We stopped at a quick eatery after leaving since we hadn't consumed much, but we enjoyed chatting about it with burgers and fries. Almost half a year has gone by since my previous note, and there are several points to cover. First off, despite severing ties with my sister and repeatedly cautioning her, Emily has mailed strange and undesired romantic notes to my husband. Even after we warned of police involvement, she ignored it. We had to escalate later. Then, roughly a month back, my husband and I got wonderful news. We're anticipating a baby. We were thrilled and posted the joyful update online. This was clearly an error as events became alarming this week. When my husband returned from his job, he was shocked to find Emily on our front steps, awaiting him. She started rising upon seeing him. He instantly felt threatened, so he rushed to his vehicle and drove off, while she ran after and implored him to halt and converse. I can't fathom his fear then. He phoned and I hurried home fast. We both alerted authorities immediately. And since we had prior complaints about the odd letters, it was straightforward to have her detained briefly until my parents bilate her. But she still faces court. Our attorney also sought a protection order against her, which was in process when she showed at our place. We consulted our lawyer, and while we can pursue charges and appear in trial, we wondered the cost of a legal proceeding against my sister. He said if my parents fund a defender, it could run $10,000 to $20,000 for her side. But if they get a pricey one, it might exceed that. That offers some relief, since even if Emily avoids harsh punishment, my parents will face hefty fees. With pension earnings and Emily adding nothing, the economic strain will be heavy. It may seem spiteful, but if Emily stays in obsessive mode post-event and won't heed rejection, and my parents do zilch, then the system, or its price, will handle it. These matters take time, but I commit to sharing developments as they arise. We've been parents for a while now, so I promised to update, and here I am, with more than anticipated. We weren't hesitant to tackle some inquiries because, right after securing the protection order, which came soon after the last incident for clear causes, Emily tried contacting my husband again and broke the order. This caused my parents to forfeit their bail funds. That's the initial point. The second is that Emily failed her case. Though I don't know the exact amount my parents spent, I know she lacked a state lawyer, and they paid, which didn't aid as Emily served 6 months total in detention pre- and post-trial, plus required ongoing therapy as mandated. Third, my parents separated. You know how some find courage when at their breaking point. My dad finally mustered the resolve to end the marriage. Evidently, the shame of the town knowing he'd been betrayed, plus the money drain and public disgrace from Emily's actions, was overwhelming. My mom has Emily with her, but not traditionally since she's adult, and she's taken her to reside together. They've both resumed employment because, amid Emily's court troubles and the split, neither could rely on reserves alone. Picture if I'd heeded those who thought the meal confrontation sufficed and dropping charges on Emily was overly harsh. I disagree. Fourth, the relatives have distanced themselves. They've shown this by not providing loans during the proceedings or cutting ties online. Fifth, online platforms have been crucial here, not from us. But let's say the community now recognizes my parents and Emily. That's why they've struggled to find housing after losing theirs amid the case and separation. My dad has moved elsewhere, while my mom shifted a few areas away, as the judge barred Emily from leaving the region. Sixth, not much else except life is much brighter. Emily might seem risky since she's nearby, but she's under protection order and has a record. Even she isn't foolish enough to risk more incarceration. Seventh, time for more appreciations and greetings while I savor parenthood.